Good morning, good day, good night, good everything. Rhetorical Arts here once again. And I just finished today. Well, for you, you'll get it in parts, but for me today, with the sight setting meditation. Yeah, it was something that was close to my heart. And it is, that mantra has been a part of a conversation I have been having with myself and the world for a long time. That meditation has been a part of it. A conversation that has been alive in me and that has kept me alive, and in terms of feeling all connected to the world, and connecting to myself and connecting to the world around me, and bringing those things together. So yeah, the sight setting meditation, it's been beautiful for me. I had a little cry at the end of the video. I wasn't quite expecting it. But yeah, still here in the rain, and figure I'd just keep going. Man, still got a little bit of it in me. Anyway, part of what the last video, just talking about the conversations, mentioning that in the last video, it's a question I've been asking for a long time. In the same way that meditation has been a part of a conversation I've been having, it's kept me alive. Like, I've been wondering and questioning in a positive way. I've been asking the question to myself of what are some of the conversations that I live in and that keep me living and that keep me alive. And I think we are all living conversations, and I think everybody has a living conversation. Has a conversation that they live with, and a conversation that's keeping in it, keeps them going, and keeps them alive, and keeps them lively in the world. And so I've been asking the question of what are the living conversations that keep me alive, and what I believe about those living conversations, that the words that we say and the words that we live give those conversations, those living conversations, legs. And every word we say in those conversations is a part of the steps that we take, and those words become how we walk in those living conversations, and those journeys in living conversations. So I've been thinking about what are the conversations that keep me alive, the living conversations that do so, and what are the words, what are the words that I say in those conversations that keep me walking in them, and that keep me going in them, and that keep me pursuing them, and in them. It's just a question I have, and it's not something if you haven't asked that question before, or haven't thought about it that way, or have thoughts about that, you don't have to comment or tell me or answer this question in the comments. You can feel free to. You can feel free to take the quest of this question. You can email me what you think, or you could do none of those things. But I would just encourage you to think about it. Just to think about it. What are some of the conversations that keep you alive? What are some of the living conversations that keep you alive? And what are the words that you say that keep you walking in those conversations? That keep your feet moving forward in them. That give those conversations legs in your life. I think it's just an important question. And I can tell you, yeah, that meditation is a living conversation in me. I am constantly, at times, having to work on being connected with myself, with my body, with my mind, with my emotions, with my attitudes. I'm constantly having to stay in conversation with myself, so I can be self-aware, and so that I can continue to grow. I'm constantly in conversation with the world around me, so that I can be more loving and be more accepting and be more open to it, and be more open to the teachers that exist in every turn. When taking steps in this place, and I'm constantly having a conversation with how those things come together, or how I come together with the world around me and the people around me, and how the conversations that I have with the world and with the people in it keep not just me, but us alive. You know, those are some of the conversations, like just thinking about those questions and taking those quests keep me going. What are the conversations that keep you going? I'm curious, but more importantly than my curiosity is I just encourage you to think about that. I think my art is another conversation. I'm constantly having conversations with my art and their many art forms. And you know, one of the things I've mentioned that my conversation with my artistry has taken me is, you know, I spent a long time oscillating between different art forms, trying to be a rapper and then trying to be a poet and trying to not just be those things, but to make a living off of those things and to make a life around those things, and then being a storyteller. And I've oscillated between many different art forms. And Elizabeth Gilbert talks about the agreement she makes with her art, and her art form and her writing. And I'll probably put this in the playlist and kind of put that video in a playlist as well. But in her conversation, she says that how she goes about it is like, look, art, you don't have to pay the bills, is the conversation she has. She says, writing, you don't have to pay the bills. I'm glad that, you know, I'm sure she's glad that she can pay the bills through it. But I think the conversation that she was sharing that she had was that, look, I'll do the work. I'll keep us alive. I'll go get a job. And I'm okay you just staying in the house and growing. Essentially, that's kind of the way I understand her conversation, or how it was at least. I don't know where it is now. And I think the conversation I've had with my art and its many art forms, the forms that I bring my speaking into, rap, poetry, storytelling, so on and so forth, has been, I've looked at the art forms and been like, yo, kids, support me. You know, and that's the relationship I had. It's like it was almost like I was asking the babies. It was almost like I was asking the babies to support me, and my children to support me. And every time I would do that, and I'd ask my art forms, again, that's like storytelling, that's poetry, it might even be conversation. I'm not sure about that one. The jury's out. I'm not sure how old that art form is, if it's ready to kind of be a part of the family structure of supporting the household of Adam James Nicholas Keene, aka Rhetorical Arts. But yeah, like I they kept pushing back my art forms and saying, dude, we're kids, we're not ready. Like, that was the conversation I'd have with them. And then the art that enacts and that has helped, that has actually raised the art forms, the art that I'm married to in a big part. I kind of actually see her as a woman, as yeah, who I've been married to for some time and wasn't even giving enough credit to. She stepped up and said recently, look, I've been raising these kids with you, and I've been watching you struggle to make your way in this world. I'm here. I'm gonna help. I'm gonna help make a living. We'll work together. We'll work our jobs, and perhaps we can work the same job, and get into business together. And so the agreement I have with my artistry is, the art forms, your kids. My art forms, rap, poetry, storytelling, all that stuff, they get to be kids. They get to frolic. They get to be free. And I mean, it's something that kids don't get to be kids nowadays, man. Like I think sometimes, this is not for every kid, but I think there's some kids who don't get a chance to freaking be kids, and grow and just follow their intuitions and just play and learn and take chances and just mess up, you know, like mess up without it messing up your entire life. And I see my art forms as kids who I want to raise to be free-minded. I want them to be free, and I want to put those kids through schools, through eventually send those kids to a university of liberal arts, which liberal arts is the art of liberating the mind. I want to liberate them. I want my art forms to feel free and liberated. I want my art forms to be free form. And I'm willing to support that. But I think my art, the art that has given those art forms their form, and that has raised them, and that has birthed them, which is my speaking. She is on the journey with me. And we're working together to make a living and to make a life that our kids can be proud of. I know this sounds weird, but this is the conversation I have about my artistry. It's that connected to me. And I don't know that people have conversations with parts of themselves as I think they should be, because I think we see that as crazy talk. Like if somebody talks to themselves, like it's a crazy thing to do. But I think labeling that as crazy can sometimes stunt our creativity. And that's something that labels can do if we mislabel them. If we mislabel our labels, you know? So I think people need to talk to themselves more. And I think people need to have full-on conversations with themselves more. Back and forths with different parts of themselves. Because I think when you do that, you actually give parts of yourself that are typically quiet and typically don't get a chance to show themselves. You give them a voice. And when their voice unites with yours, with the parts of you that do typically get to talk, what walks out and what shows up in the world is so much more of a potent person, I believe. So yeah, this is the conversation I have with my artistry, and this is where I am in that conversation. The art forms are free; they're kids, and I'm raising them. I'm trying to figure out how old they are. Still, if they're old enough to I don't know if they're old enough to start doing work yet. But you know, one of the things that a parent has to go through is getting to a point where he, gives kids, where the kids finally start getting more responsibility and take on more things. So I'm still trying to get a sense of that. When me and my art had these art forms, we weren't really paying attention to their ages, so we've been raising them. So, yeah, this is I think we need to have conversations with ourselves more. I think a lot of people do, and they just don't say it. You know what I mean? Like, I think people do have full-blown conversations with themselves who are not crazy and who are not like in a psych ward, or who are not, delusional. But I think we do that as a way of reconciling parts of ourselves and more fully participating with our reality. Don't be afraid to talk to yourself. Don't be afraid to look crazy. I'm sure, it's raining right now, but if there are people coming by, I'm sure they'd be looking at me like, oh, wow. Because I've had these conversations when the camera was not in front of me. And that's another thing. Learn to laugh at yourself too. Learn to laugh at yourself. A lot of people are afraid to show themselves because they're afraid of being laughed at. Laugh at yourself first. Laugh at yourself first. Learn to laugh with yourself, and the world will eventually laugh with you as well. That's what I believe. A part of that is being able to have enough of a conversation that you can do that you could say something weird or strange, in your mind, or odd or off, and be enough in conversation with yourself that you could find that comical and laugh at yourself in response of what you just said. And then you stop worrying as much of what people think of you. And you bring people along for the ride. You bring people along for the laugh. So, yeah, that's, I'm not sure what the title of this is, but I think this is about living conversation. Is probably what I'll title this. And what's your living conversation? What are the conversations that keep you alive? See you guys tomorrow.